reporting. Well, Lin Taylor is a journalist who researched sexual misconduct in the International Aid Centre for the Thomson Reuters Foundation, the philanthropic arm of the news agency.
We decided to take a look at sex abuse and exploitation happening in the aid sector after the Harvey Weinstein revelations last year. Myself and a colleague, we contacted a whole bunch of charities that are working on the grounds overseas in developing countries. And we asked them, do you know how many reports of sexual abuse? Do you count those figures? But the only two charities that got back to us with the numbers of reports of abuse were Save the Children and Oxfam. And everybody else said, we don't collect those sorts of figures, we're not sure. But we have safeguards in place and we have codes of conduct in place. And
of those that did reply to you, Lynn, what did they say? How much information did they give you?
Oxfam got back to us with specific numbers. So this was last year. We did this at the end of last year. Oxfam said that they sacked 22 staff members. And Save the Children said they dismissed 16 staff members. And they were quite open about that. They got back to us quite quickly with those figures. The big ones like Red Cross, World Vision, International Rescue Committee, they didn't get back to me with figures.
Were you surprised by that?
On one hand, yes, because, as aid workers, they work in places where people have been rape victims, they've been traumatized by all sorts of horrible things, and you'd think that being aid workers, this sort of thing is something they would be extra careful about. And yet, with their own staff, it didn't seem like they did everything they could to protect them by not collecting these sorts of figures. And maybe they do, and they didn't want to reveal it to me.
Alex Perry, who wrote a book called The Rift, which looked at the work of aid agencies in Africa, was on the PM programme earlier and suggested that there was an institutional bias in the aid sector against admitting problems because of the constant need to find new sources of funding. Do you think he has a point?
Yeah, I think aid agencies are concerned that if they air out these sorts of really scandalous things and sexual abuse and sexual exploitation, the public might not trust them as much with their money, which is what we're seeing at the moment.
Lin Taylor there from the Thomson Reuters Foundation. Well, Thomson